Welcome to the Nightly 5 podcast with Ben O'Shea.
Well, booking websites are the latest target of cyber criminals. Ticketek falling victim and telling customers their information has been stolen only days after a similar attack on Ticketmaster.
Australia's cyber security sector faces a looming shortfall of workers as the nation grapples with an unprecedented number of high-profile data hacks. The industry warning comes after a third-party vendor used by Ticketek was hacked, with the event ticketing company disclosing the breach of personal information, including names, dates of births and emails, to customers over the weekend. AusCyber Chief Executive Officer Chris Kirk joins me now. Chris, how many workers do you think we're short in the cybersecurity sector?
Unfortunately, it's quite a staggering number, and with the report we've recently put the number of dedicated roles that the cyber industry is going to need in Australia to keep up at around 85,000 by 2030. To put that number in perspective, we're looking at a 66% increase in roles, or almost 5,000 new people into the industry every year.
That is a staggering number. And it initially makes me think, what are all these people doing? What do we need them to be doing? Can you give us an idea of what workers in this sector actually do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think a real opportunity for the cyber industry to do better in terms of providing colour and clarity as to what is it actually like to work in the cyber industry. Now, many people would be surprised to know that actually only 20% of the jobs that are currently open in the cyber industry require technical expertise, and quite a significant number are actually in what we call supporting roles. So roles where there may be some level of industry knowledge that's required around cyber, but you're very much in a support capacity. Of the technical roles, there's things like being a cyber analyst or a security analyst, and there's defined kind of career paths around those things. But also a real opportunity, I think, for more Australians to think about cyber as a career.
And so why do you think we are running short of them? Is it an image issue with the sector? Is it the idea that you have to have all of this kind of technical knowledge that to some people might be like speaking another language?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there is a number of reasons why Australia, unfortunately, is falling behind our global counterparts when it comes to what's been quite apparent as a real skills shortage in the cyberspace. I think it starts with education, right down to the primary and also at the tertiary level. And there's a real opportunity, I think, for our kids in schools to actually understand the role of cybersecurity, the role of digital safety, and actually think about industries like cyber as a valid career path. There's also, a growing need, and there's some great work that AusCyber's put out around helping people actually understand what are the steps to take in the industry. What do I study? Where can I get started? What does a salary look like? And so there's really a job to be done in terms of demystifying cyber, helping explain why it matters, and helping explain why it's actually a fantastic industry to work in for so many Australians.
Yeah, and as someone who works in legacy media, I often think about what career paths will still exist, 5, 10, 15 years from now. You'd have to say that cybersecurity probably is one of those career paths.
Yeah, it's one of the hardest things, particularly for young people today, is to really not just think about what they want to do in the future, but make sure that industry is still going to be around and relevant. And the one thing that is really clear is that our economy and every industry is becoming more and more digitized, and with that presents a significant need to make sure that all of our digital assets, our websites, our systems, our platforms that Australia relies on every day are protected and secure. So we are seeing a massive growth and opportunity for Australians to engage in the cyber industry, and unfortunately, we're also seeing the downside and the threats and the attacks that happen almost every day now as well, as a result of what is becoming a really, really critical industry for Australia to quickly upskill around and make sure we're doing right as a nation.
In other sectors, we see what happens when there's a shortfall. Like if it's frontline health staff, we see the ambulance ramping as a result. If it's the hospitality industry, maybe you have to wait a bit longer for your coffee or your dinner. In the cyber security sector, what happens if we don't meet this worker shortfall?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it can be less obvious or less causal to know. There's not enough doctors, so I can't get into the doctor. Sometimes it's difficult to really correlate. What is the impact here? I think Ultimately, if we have a look at what's happening right now across Australia in the report Cyber recently put out, we pointed to one attack happening every 6 minutes on an Australian business, and the cost, depending on the size of the business, can be in the order of about $70,000. And so for many businesses, that's an end of business moment. That is something that just means we unfortunately can't proceed. So massive impact on the economy, and for a sector like cybersecurity, it's not just about making sure that we're protected. It's also, if I look at the growth of the sector in the last year, a massive economic opportunity for Australians. And, a big part of, I'm sure, what many Australians think about is, from a career perspective, what are going to be the growth sectors? And increasingly, where is our economy going to move to, from digging up rocks and, mining to what I would call more sustainable technology-enabled economies. And cyber is absolutely one of those.
Yeah, it does sound like it. And so, Chris, give us a quick heads up on what people can do. If they're listening to this and they go, yep, this sounds like something for me, or maybe I know someone, or maybe my child could be perfect for this, how can they get started?
Yeah, it's really simple. Jump on the AusCyber website. We've got a great visual tool where you can actually explore different career pathways. You can see, what are the jobs that are available? What do they pay? How many of them? Or, what are the study pathways? I would encourage people to do some research and kind of understand or be reassured that there's a job in cyber for everyone. You do not have to have technical skills. You can either learn them on the job, or you can take up formal kind of training pathways. But ultimately, it's a growing industry with so much opportunity.
Yeah, and you'll be doing the nation a favour as well. AusCyber Chief Executive Officer Chris Kirk, thanks for sharing this intel on the Nightly Five.
Thank you so much.